He's been a truly powerful and inspirationally passionate voice for his people, and has inspired everyone around this country with his talks. He's been an enormous inspiration to me and many others, and I can think of no better person than Ambassador Zomlot to inspire the whole theatre tonight and finish the evening for us.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. That was not a good tactic, Nick, to raise the expectation, especially after such an inspiring, moving, touching, empowering panel. What an honor to really be in your audience and to hear what you had to say and offer. So I would like to start by asking all of you here, the wonderful audience, to join me in giving a big, big applause to such a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And also, my friends, to really bow, show our respect and appreciation to Professor Nick Maynard here. To the wonderful medics and doctors like Nick, who have been to Gaza several times. I know many of them are here today, meds of course, but Khalid Dawas, where is Dr. Khalid Dawas? Can we give them such an... But also to our host and organizers this evening, health workers for Palestine, and the founder of that very idea, very dream, a year and something ago, and look where they are now, Dr. Omar Abdel Mannan. I'll tell you, following from what Mads just said about British medics, international medics, Norwegian medics. Of course you go to Gaza as medical professionals. Of course you extend your hands and help and expertise. And I am aware of how resilient our doctors and adaptive, I'm aware. But because of the complicity and the absence of the presence of world leaders in Gaza, and because of the absence of international media in Gaza, a la Israel's blockage, you have become the leaders and the correspondents, the reporters of the truth. From Nick and all of what he's done to you, Mads, and all the way to Victoria Rose, Dr. Victoria Rose, who just returned from Gaza. I'm gonna salute Victoria Rose. You have literally covered for all those politicians, all those reporters. You have covered for the world. The medical sector has been in the forefront for fighting for Palestine, reporting Palestine, making sure the issue is discussed as we have seen today. I am the last speaker. I stand between you and dinner, most likely. So, my friends, future generations will look back on this very moment as a turning point, when an unrelenting campaign was waged to erase the Palestinian people and ask how this was allowed to happen. Our children will be reading this in the history books, and they will be looking at us, our generation, and asking, how did we allow this to happen? How world leaders, faced with a choice between complicity and courage, enabled genocide. How they denied Palestinians our inalienable right to self-determination and return, and chose to support occupation over freedom, apartheid over equality. Today, After decades of appeasement and impunity, Israel has entrenched one of the longest military colonial occupation in modern history, one that seeks not only to control Palestinian life, but to extinguish it. So, my friends, of course, we have heard from the experts, the lawyers, the doctors, that the genocide of the Palestinian people has effectively been ongoing since the Nakba of 1948. This is the first ongoing genocide for 77 years. It is the nature of a settler-colonial project premised on the very idea of a land without a people, for a people without a land. When you believe so, when this is your mindset, your doctrine, your ideology, you will only succeed if and when the native population will be subjugated indefinitely or eliminated entirely, or a mixture of both. Now Israel has turned completely to the second option: elimination, annihilation, extermination. And yet, 77 years after the Nakba, we, the Palestinian people, refuse to give in. We are a hard case, rooted, cultured. Did you see Dr. Amira's daughter? The latest Palestinian Gazan, by the way. Where is she? Where is she? Very scary. We refuse Israel's apartheid. We refuse the military occupation. We refuse the economic strangulation. We refuse Israel's expansionism, the illegal settlements and land thefts, the house demolition, our houses. We refuse its rounding of our kids, of our people, without charge, without trial. We refuse its violence. We refuse Israel's attempt at isolating us from the world, its slander and its ideology of supremacy, Jewish supremacy. I repeat, Jewish supremacy. We continue to talk, to write, to advocate, to work, and to explain. We stay on our land because it is our land. As simple as that. It is our history. It is our heritage, and it is our right. Our choice is simple. Either we struggle or it is oblivion. And we struggle. We struggle, and we have struggled for over a century. Relentlessly, non-stop. And while we have not prevailed, I must tell you, we have not been defeated. And yes, my friends, Israel tried to have our struggle in isolation, branding us, terrorism, and this and that, and yes, Arafat, as you said. Even our non-violence. And by the way, that century of struggle is 99% non-violent struggle. The first Intifada, and what was before the first Intifada, the Great Strike, all the way to the West Bank, and this huge, popular, peaceful movement. And the March of Return in Gaza in 2018. But look at Israel's reaction to our very peaceful, non-violent mode of resistance. But my friends, despite all the attempts to isolate, to brand, we have never been alone. In fact, as we enter the 21st month of genocide in Gaza and in Palestine more broadly, we are witnessing a remarkable, inspiring global movement for justice. We are seeing it taking shape. And guess what? With love and respect to the very effective work you're doing in Norway, the epicenter of that movement is now the UK, and now in London. And now it is you and the millions upon millions like you. Despite the shameful complicity of so many governments around the world with Israel's violence, expansionism, and exceptionalism, we see awareness of our cause and its justness spreading like a wildfire across the world. We see the eyes of the world opening to what Israel is, a pariah state, a pariah state. We see people take to the streets week in and week out in their hundreds of thousands to demand their governments take action, as you just heard. We see our story heard properly from the ethnic cleansing of 1948. Now we are talking about the Nakba. Now we go back to the basics because we were lost, confused for almost 30 years. Through military occupation and the siege on Gaza, to Israel's designs on territorial expansion and extermination of the Palestinian people. And we see the clear results of such mass popular mobilization. We see European countries slowly begin to recognize the state of Palestine. And here, Mads, on behalf of all of us here and the Palestinian people, a big, big round of applause to Norway for recognizing the state of Palestine. But I must add to the list, Ireland, Spain, there are many Spanish and Irish here. Let's see the fourth one, Slovenia. And you may have followed last week only, or the week before, the EU finally took a decision to actually revise its cooperation agreement. It's not enough. It should have been a suspension of the cooperation agreement, but at least your pressure, your work is yielding. We see ordinary people boycott companies working illegally in Israel. We see dockers at ports, block shipments that is illegally going to Israel. We see governments begin to impose sanctions, however limited, as the pressure slowly begins to increase. You have seen only a few days ago here in the UK that Britain imposes sanctions on Ben-Gvir and Smotrich. Yes, it's not enough, but it has broken a taboo for the first time. And remember the history of Britain and how Britain has a direct role in all this. So we are on our way. We need to build on all this. And of course, also, we see the strength. We see the strength of the feeling of the millions of the people. We see the change. We see our flag, the flag of Palestine, being raised as a universal symbol of the struggle for freedom and justice everywhere, wherever I go. In your homes, outside your cars, we see it as a symbol now. It's a statement by everybody that here I am on the right side of history. This is my flag. We see the kofiyya, by the way, becoming a cultural symbol of global freedom and justice. This is because of you. This is because of how many of you have been speaking out, working day and out. And this is not just the last 2 years. It's been for decades, a generation after generation. This is hugely important, my friends. It's hugely important. To quote John Stuart Mill, the designs of bad men only succeed if good men should look on and do nothing. And do nothing. And you are those who are doing everything. Only by being here, you are doing something, let alone the list you have heard from the panel of what could be done. My friends, there is a long way to go. We are aware. Yes, we have seen the UK taking some steps in the right direction. This is important, but not enough. We have seen the UK impose a partial arms embargo. Again, important, but not enough. We cannot and will not accept half commitment to international law. Either you are committed to law, to legality, or you're not. This isn't. So it's very clear. We demand and work with our partners to impose a full arms embargo, not partial, and full sanctions. And full sanctions, my friends. Okay, you picked Smotrich and Ben-Gvir. But there are two ministers who are part of a government that has the same policy, headed by Netanyahu. So you cannot just single out just to avoid the pressure and absorb the pressure. The entire Israeli government and the entire Israeli state must be sanctioned. And we see international system starting to work. We see the International Court of Justice, we see the International Criminal Court issuing arrest warrants against war criminals. Finally, and these arrest warrants must be upheld by global international actors, including the UK government. And you know, we also hear a lot of talk about recognition of the State of Palestine here in the UK, in the Parliament. And you know, if you are not recognizing at a time of genocide, if not now, when? So enough talk. Recognize the State of Palestine now. And let me make this clear. Let me make this absolutely clear. It's not either or. You must recognize and you must impose sanctions, arms embargo, accountability. Nothing substitute the other. Because some would say, oh, if they do that, they will not do that. All of the above is an obligation upon the UK government and all other governments. So my friends, I'm going to really fast forward and just say this. Israel must be stopped. The genocide in Gaza and in the West Bank. Slower in the West Bank, but there is genocide in the West Bank. There is a slow targeting of life in the West Bank. There's more than 50,000 of our people in Tulkarem and in Jenin who have been displaced. The genocide must stop. Killings must stop, my friends. Destruction must stop. The starvation must stop. It must be stopped not just for us, the Palestinian people, not just for the Lebanese, the Syrians, the Iranians, and everybody who has been, all the region. It must be stopped for Israel itself. If Israel wants to exist, if Israel wants to be part of this region, it cannot bomb its way out of it. It cannot bomb its existence. It cannot gain its by bombing every capital, every city. And not just for all the region. It is for all of us. If this is allowed to continue, we will pay the price, all of us. Read my lips. The normalization of the mass murder of children will come back to haunt all of us. The normalization of targeting hospitals and doctors and journalists and women, the normalization of devastating an entire civilian, defenseless people will dent our humanity. And guess who's watching and who is going to learn the new norms and the new normal? Who's next? Whose children is next? And therefore, this must stop. We must stop it together and keep the journey. It is, our world is in turmoil, a world in which laws and human rights no longer matter, a world now on the brink of permanent global war. And you are seeing what is happening. So my friends, it is not too late. Things change and things change fast. In 1988, as the first intifada was waging, the PLO, Yasser Arafat, declared independence of the State of Palestine. Nelson Mandela, I'm so touched and proud to be just speaking next to this giant and monument. Nelson Mandela was still languishing in a South Africa, in an apartheid South Africa prison, 1988. He was still in prison. At that point, he had been imprisoned, Madiba, for a quarter of a century. Just 6 years later, not only was Mandela free, South Africa held its first multiracial and truly democratic elections. Apartheid had ended. Our task today is to ensure the same for Palestine. And I tell you, I see it. I see it happening. I see the finish line. They want us to believe we are far away. Don't make them make you believe so. We are so close to the finish line. Did anybody expect the fall of the Berlin Wall? Did anybody expect peace in Northern Ireland? These things happen when the power of the people come together. So, my friends, just to end, really, to end here and tell you this, the UK government must be left in no doubt as to what its responsibilities is at this critical time. This is our responsibility and your responsibility. It is our task, all of us, the millions and millions around the world who see clearly and whose attachment to justice and law is very firm, to deliver a better world for the Palestinian people, for our region, and for you and the entire world. And I just want to promise you one thing, all of you. The genocide will end, and we will rebuild Gaza. We will rebuild more hospitals. With your help, Professor, we will build more clinics, and we will train, through you and the Oxford Gaza medics and all the organizations, more of our brilliant doctors. We will not let the Israeli plan of literally stealing life out of Gaza and make Gaza lifeless. And we are, as you see, all of us, we are the many. We are the many, not the few. Yes, we are surrounded by darkness, but we are also connected by our shared humanity, connected by a growing light at the end of the tunnel. Let that humanity guide us, my friends, and I see that humanity is abundantly present in this room tonight with all of you, and I can assure you that we will together, inshallah, prevail. Thank you very much.